Welcome to second part of lecture number 9. As we have discussed in first part the different components of the barrage, okay, and also in previous lecture number 8 we have discussed in detail the weir, which are the types of the canal headworks. Now in this part first we will discuss about the selection of their site and layout. Being an engineer, this is one of the most important thing which we have considered during the design of any types of headworks. Okay, for example, if we have a natural stream or we have a natural river, and suppose we have to take out an irrigation canal for a specific agricultural area. Okay, that is the basic requirement of the irrigation canal, that we have to convey some specific and control amount of water from a natural source or from a natural river into the agricultural land. Now the question is, at which point from where the canal will be take out from the natural river. Okay, either here, suppose here or here, which site will be selected. Okay, what will be the different factor being an engineer which will be considered to select for the to consider for the design or construction of any types of headworks, either weir or barrage or dams. Okay, so see, the site for headwork should be selected after giving proper consideration to the following point. One of the most important point is the economical consideration. Okay, and also you can also call it the feasibility survey. Okay, that before the designing, before the construction of any types of engineering project, first we are doing the feasibility survey of a specific area, that either the site is suitable for the project or not. Which site will be best suitable for the given project. Okay, so the first factor which will be considered, that are the economical considerations. So first we will have to look that the construction material should be available in large quantity and in close proximity of the site. Okay, see, such type of site will be selected where the construction material, okay, for example the sand, the gravel, the clay or any type of stone or rocks which is required for the construction of different components of the headwork, that will be easily available, largely available and closely available. Okay, if the material is not largely and closely available near to the construction site, then obviously we will have to transport it from some other points, from some other places, and it will account some means of cost. Okay, so the cost of the project will be increased. So that is the first point, that such site will be selected where the construction material is available in large quantity and where the construction material is closely available to the construction site. Okay, second one, we have to select the narrow, straight and high non-submersible bank site for the construction of the headworks. Okay, for example, if this is the we can say that if this is the condition of the natural river or natural stream. Okay, now see, if this is one of the point, for example this is another point, this is another point, at each and every point we can take out a canal and we can construct a headwork. But what will be the best economical point? See, where the natural river is narrow. Okay, in place of this one, see, if we construct here a weir or barrage, so its construction length will be more, the structure length will be more as compared to this one. Okay, see, here the river is narrow, so the structure length will be less and its construction cost will be less. Okay, and secondly, most importantly, the banks will be non-submersible. See, if here we construct a barrier, if here we construct a weir or barrage, then obviously the water will try to overflow on the banks, on the sides. So we will have to select such a site where the banks are strong enough, which cannot be collapsed or damaged by the overflowing of water, and where the banks are non-submersible, and the narrow section will be preferably selected. Okay, the cost of connecting the site by rail and roadway should be less. That is also most important, that the point where you are constructing any types of headworks, it will be easily accessible. okay, by roads or railway. Suppose if you are transporting different types of material, cement for example, or steel material, or suppose laborers are moving towards the site, okay, so the site will be easily accessible by any means of transportation. Okay, for example, if there is no road is available or railway track is available, okay, so then we will have to transport the material by manual methods, by some manual means, so the construction cost will be increased. Okay, so the site will be accessible by roads or by railway, means some means of transportation will be available. To reduce the cost of construction of the canal system, the site should be close to the cultivable area. As we have discussed that why we are constructing headworks, just to divert safely, efficiently and effectively the required amount of water from natural river into the canal, and then that water is transported into the agricultural area. Okay, so such site will be selected from which we can say that the length of the canal is reduced. Okay, suppose if we construct the canal at this point, for example, and it has the canal length is for example 2 kilometer, and suppose if we construct here at headworks and take out a canal and for example its length is 1 kilometer, then this will be prepared, because the overall cost of the irrigation project will be reduced. Okay, so to reduce the cost of construction of the canal system, the site should be close to the cultivable area so that the canal length may reduced. Okay, also most importantly, the number of cross drainage work required to be constructed should be minimum. As we have discussed that when we are taking an irrigation canal and constructing it towards the agricultural area, so there may be chances of the crossages of the canal with the roads or railways or pathways or natural stream or natural drains, so then we will have to construct some cross drainage work. Okay, so we will have to look into the situation. Yeah, we will have to select such a site where the minimum number of crossing of canal occur with the other structures. Okay, and the second type of the consideration is the functional consideration, that see such site will be selected, such site of the river will be selected where up to moderate height of barrier, we can say that such site will be selected where moderate height of barrier would be constructed. Okay, for example, if we construct a barrier of small height, then not properly the water level at the upstream side will be raised, because the height of the barrier will be less. Okay, and secondly, if we construct a barrier of large height, of maximum height, of more height, what will happen? Then the effect of the effect of the pressure of the stored water will be more, and there will be chances of the collapsing and damage of the structure. So the moderate height will be selected. Okay, so such site will be selected where a moderate height of obstruction is possible to be constructed. Okay, so far as possible, the canal take up should be at right angle. That is also most importantly. Okay, suppose if we have a natural river, so such site will be selected where we can take out a canal at right angle to the river. Okay, so suppose if we have selected this portion for the construction of headworks, and then here suppose here we have some obstruction, then the canal will be taken out in this direction, which is not recommended. Okay, so such site will be selected where the canal can be taken out at right angle to the natural river. Okay, the river reach should have central flow without tendency of scouring of silting. Also, the suppose such site will be selected where the river is non-scouring. Okay, because if the headwork is constructed in such an area where the river is we can say that where there is possibility of erosion or scouring, then the structure may be damaged. Okay, so such area will be selected where the river is non-scourable, where there is no possibility of the erosion and the flow is centralized, mean the flow is toward the structure. Okay, suppose if we construct a barrier and for example if water is flowing overflowing on the banks, then such site will be not selected. The canal should give maximum command, and also we will have to select such an area from which we can divert maximum amount of water, and if more amount of water is diverted into the canal, then it will irrigate more area, it will command more area. So such area will be selected where we can divert maximum amount of water into the irrigation canal. Okay. Other consideration is the structural consideration. Good foundation should be available at moderate depth. Okay, mean the area which we are selecting for the construction of headworks, so we will have to look into the foundation of that area. We will have to look into the bed condition of the river. Okay, it will be properly, mean stronger depth will be available, rock type depth will be available, so that the foundation of the headworks may strong and it may not collapse or it may not damaged from the we can say that from the backwater effect or from the raising of the water at the upstream side. Okay, so being an engineer, when you are selecting any types of the when you are selecting any types of the when you are selecting any site for the construction of any types of the headwork, so these point will be considered. Okay, that the construction material will be accessibly available, maximally available, closely available, the site will be accessible. Okay, and the canal length may be reduced, the canal may be taken out at right angle, the canal may command more area. Okay, and the site at which we are constructing the headworks, so the river at that point will be non-scourable, non-erodible. Okay, and it will have the tendency to divert maximum amount of water into the canal. Okay, and the foundation at that time will be up to moderate depth, and it will be strong enough so that the structure may not be damaged. Okay, so these factors will be considered. Okay, now see another topic of this lecture, that is various components, various structure used in headworks and their function. Remember, see, suppose that is a natural stream, so first we have the main structure, yeah, the main thing in which we are interested, that is the headwork, that is the weir, or that is the barrage. Simply that is a barrier in which we are interested. We have just to stop, yeah, we have just to store some amount of water at the upstream side of the barrier, and then that water will be diverted into the canal. Okay, so now see, the required function will not only be achieved by just simply construction of that barrier. Okay, we will have also we will have to construct some other components, some secondary components, some supplementary structures, so that the water may be diverted into the canal effectively and efficiently. Okay, for example, we have to strengthen the banks. Also, we have to construct here the regulator, so that the proper amount of water may be entered into the canal. Okay, also we will here we will have to construct a divide wall, so that the water pocket may be generated and the proper amount of water may be diverted into the canal. Here we have to construct the fish ladder. Okay, so these are the secondary structures, these are the supplementary components which is required during the construction of the headworks. Okay, so see, layout of the divergent headwork. Here you can see that this is the top view. This one is the top view of headworks. Okay, here we have the main headwork structure, either it will be weir or it will be barrage. Okay, that is the main structure which we have discussed. It has different components. Okay, from here we will have to start the launching apron, the block protection, then the impervious floor, then the glacis, then the downstream glacis, then the impact blocks, then the launching apron, then the block protection, then the inverted filter. So this section, see, this is the top view, this is the main barrier. Okay, this is the main weir or barrage. Okay, then we have the here we have the divide walls. Okay, we have the fish ladders. Okay, and these are the pockets, or these are the approach channel. Okay, and under sluices or scouring sluices, silt prevention devices, canal head regulator, river training works. Okay, mean construction of these banks and construction of these marginal bonds, these are called the river training works. Okay, so these are the different supplementary structure, or these are the different secondary components which should be constructed for the efficient and effective working of any headworks. Okay, so we will discuss one by one. So as already we have discussed the weir and barrages. Okay, the weir and barrages is properly discussed in the previous lectures. Now see, what is the divide wall? So at divide, the river width into two portions. one is known as the weir portion, and the other portion from which the canal takes up is known as the underslices pocket or weir scouring slices. See, for example, if we have a natural river, and remember, for example, if we have to take out irrigation canal at one side, okay, so then the width of the river is divided into two portions. Okay, this one portion is called the weir portion, and the other portion, that is called the underslices pocket, or that is called the scouring slices. Okay, here you can also see that, let me go back. Here you can see that, see this white one, this is the divide wall. Okay, the total width of the river is divided into two portions. This is called the weir portion. Here we will have the main barrier, the main weir or main barrage, and this is called the underslices pocket. Okay, so this is just a wall which is perpendicular to the axis of the barrier, that is called the divide wall. Okay, so see, the divide wall is just dividing the width of the river into two portions. Remember, when we have to take out one canal, okay, and for example, if we have to take out two canals, we have to take out the canals at both sides, then two divide walls are constructed, and the river width is divided into three portions. Okay, one we have the barrage portion, or one we have the weir portion, and these are called the underslices pocket, or these are called the scouring slices. Okay, if there are two canals, then there will be two divide walls and two underslices. Okay, a divide wall is an embankment protected on all sides by stones or concrete block. See, this is the top view. Suppose this is the cross section of the river. Here we construct just two divide wall, and the width of the river is divided into three portions. This is called the main weir portion, and this is called the underslices portion. This is called the underslices portion. This wall, this is just a wall which is constructed by stone, or by we can say it by concrete blocks. Okay, and that is at right angle, to the we can say to the axis of the weir or to the axis of the barrage. And what is its main function? It serves as a trap or coarser bed material. See, when we construct here a barrier, a weir or barrage, then the water will be, we can say that the water will be ponded at the upstream side, and the water will try to come at these in this direction, because only we have weir here. Here we have the barrier, here we have the obstruction. So when the water is stopped, when the water flow is ponded by this barrier, so the water will try to come into these areas, and here we have increased, we have more depths. Here we increase the depth of the river. Okay, so these are called the pockets. Okay, so the water will come into these pockets. Here it will allow, here the velocity will be reduced. Okay, here it will we can say that the water will come in rest. Okay, and the coarser bed material will be settled down, and then the clear water, the salt free water, will be diverted into the canal. Okay, so when we divide the river by these divide wall into three portions, here we will construct the main barrier. Due to the barrier, the water will come into these sides. Again, here we have some complete walls, or we have some obstruction, but the depth of this area is more than this one. That's why it is called pocket, underslices pocket. Okay, so the water will come in rest in this area, and the silt particle, the sediment particle, will be deposited, and the clear water will be we can say that diverted into the canal. And then here we have the regulator, which is controlling the amount of water, which is controlling the discharge entry, the quantification of water into the canal. Okay, and also these divide wall is served as a we can say that as a support for the fish ladder. We will discuss in next slide that what is fish ladder. So it is supporting the fish ladders, and also separating canal head regulator from the main weir. See, here we have the canal regulator, here we have the main weir, so both structure are separated from each other by this divide wall. Okay, so that the flow effects may not damage the structures. Okay, so these are the functions. It creates a still pond, so as to as we have discussed that when the water is obstructed by the main weir or by the main barrier or by the main barrage, then the water will come into these this area. Okay, so here we have more depth, so the water will rest, means its velocity will be reduced, the water will pond it, okay, and the salts will be deposited in that pockets, and the clear water will be entered into the canal. Okay. Next component, we have the fish ladder. So here you can see that alongside with the divide wall, here we are constructing the fish ladder. Okay, fish ladder, these are just the fish way. Okay, the fish passes are these are the fish steps. Okay, that is a structure through which the fish move from upstream side into the downstream side. Okay, see, if we have a natural river and here we construct a barrier, here we construct a weir or barrage, then how the fish will move into the downstream side from the upstream side, or how it will move from the downstream into the upstream side. Okay, so here we are constructing the fish pathways. Okay, so that they move freely from the upstream side into the downstream side, or from the downstream side into the upstream side. So these are the narrow trough opening with baffles provided along the divide wall to cut down the velocity. Okay, to to break out the abrupt changes. Okay, and location of fish ladder adjacent to divide wall is prepared because see, here we have the divide wall, and adjacent to divide wall here we have the fish ladder. Again, here we have the divide wall, and to this side we have the fish ladder. Okay, a fish ladder built along the divide wall is a device designated to allow the fish to negotiate the artificial barrier. Okay, the barrier which we have constructed, the weir or barrage. Through these barriers, the fish cannot move from upstream to downstream, or from downstream to upstream side. So here we are just providing the pathway for the fishes. Okay, the optimum velocity here will be 2 to 2.5 meter per second. Fish move from upstream to downstream in search of relatively warm water. That is the condition. Okay, so we have to allow them to move from the upstream side into the downstream side, or from the downstream to upstream side. We have to facilitate that natural migration. Here you can see that, see, if that is a barrier. Okay, so through this barrier the fishes cannot move into the upstream side. So here we are constructing that fish ladder so that they may easily move from downstream side to the upstream, and from upstream to the downstream side. Okay. Next one, we have the under sluices or the scouring sluices. Here you can see that is the main barrier. These are the fish ladders. We have the divide walls. Okay, these are the under sluices. These are the water pockets, that the water will come into these pockets, and it will allow for the sedimentation. Then the clear water will be entered into the canal through this regulator. The discharge will be controlled through these regulator, and the remaining water in these pockets will be discharged into the downstream side through under sluices. Okay, these are the deep channel in front of the head regulator. See, in front of the head regulator, here we have the deep channel, okay, to dispose of that deposited sediments, and to dispose of the flood discharge to the downstream area of the barrage, or of the we can say of the barrier. Okay, if here we construct a barrier, as we have discussed, the water will come into these pockets, and the sediments will be deposited from these pockets, and then that sediments will be washed out into the downstream area through these under sluices. And these are nothing, these are just the deep channel at this portion. Okay, under sluices are the opening at low level. They scour periodically the silt deposited in the pockets. Okay, mean the sediments which are deposited here, that are we can say that washed out periodically. With respect to time, periodically with time to time we have to open that gates, that deep channels, so the water which are present in these pockets will be come out into the downstream area, and the sediments which are deposited here, that will be also washed out. Okay, to control the silt entry into the canal, see why we are providing these pockets or these under sluices. So the water will come in rest at here, and the sediment will be deposited, and it will be prevented into entering into the canal. Also, it will protect the downstream floor from the hydraulic jump. See, the water will discharge through these deep channels, and the water will not be overflowing on that structure, so it will prevent the downstream area from the hydraulic jump. Okay, and also to lower the highest flood level. Suppose, for example, if heavy floods occurred in the river, so we are opening these under sluices, we are opening these scouring sluices, so the impact of the flood water on the main structure will be reduced. To score the silt deposit, okay, and also the sediments which are deposited in the pockets, that will be periodically washed out from that area, to maintain the clear and well-defined river channel approaching the canal head regulator. Okay, see, these are the under sluices. Here you can see that is the under sluices. See, that is the main barrage portion. Okay, so now here we have no we can say that no flow of water to the downstream area. Okay, here we have the we can say that the divide wall, and here we have the irrigation canal, here we have the canal regulator. Okay, so when the water is abstracted by this barrier, so obviously the water will try to come here. Okay, because here we have no abstraction. So this is these are the pockets. Here we have the deep wets, so the water will come in rest, the sediments will be deposited, and the clear water will be allowed to enter into the canal. Now periodically, to wash out that area, we are opening these deep channels. See, these are deep channels, these are the scouring sluices, these are called the under sluices. So when we open these gates, so the water from these pockets will rush out to the downstream area, and it will wash out the sediments which is deposited. Okay, canal head regulator is already we have discussed that these are the structure which is constructed at the head of the canal adjacent to the under sluices. Okay, these are the under sluices. Here if you have to take out the irrigation canal, so here we will have the canal head regulator which is controlling the amount of entry of water into the canal. Okay, see, to admit water into the uptaking canal. Mean again, these canal head regulator, here different gates are installed here. Okay, we have we can say that we have we divide the total width of the canal into we can say that a number of piers which divide the total width of the canal into a number of spans which is called bay. Okay, and gates are installed in that one, and through that gates we are regulating the supply of water entering into the canal. Also, it prevents the silt entry into the canal, and it prevents the flooded water into the canal. For example, a flood occurred in the river, so we are just closing these gates so that the flood water may not enter into the canal, because the canal has some specific capacity, and if the flood water is entered into the canal, so there is the possibility that the canal may be damaged. Okay, so the silts are prevented, the entry of silt are prevented, the flood water is prevented, and the discharge is regulated. Okay, these are the function. Okay, suppose sometime we have required more amount of water, sometime we have required less amount of water, so that discharge, that entry of water, that quantification is regulated or controlled through these gates. Okay, so also to control the silt entry into the canals, it shut out river floods. Okay, these are the canal regulator. Here you can see that the canal, this is the head point, this is the starting point of the canal. So the canal is divided into these four spans. These are called spans, or these are called bays. Okay, so some control amount of water will be entered into the canal, and the total amount of entered which is entered through these spans will be equal to the maximum carrying capacity of the canal. Okay, so a flood occurred in the canal, again how much water will be entered into the canal? Suppose a flood occurred in the river, so how much water will be entered into the canal? It will be equal to the amount which passed through these spans, and that is equal to the maximum carrying capacity. Okay, and suppose if we did not have these regulator, and for example a flood occurred into the river, then irregular amount of water, unexpected amount of water will be entered into the canal, and there may be chances that the canal may be damaged. Okay, next we have the training works. See, here we have the main structure, weir barrage, we have the fish ladder, the divide wall, the under sluices, the canal regulator. Okay, now also when we obstruct the water, when we construct a barrier in the direction of water, so obviously the water will try to overflow on these banks. Okay, so we have to properly construct, we have to properly strengthen these banks up to some distance. Okay, and that distance will be equal to the backflow effect. For example, if we stop the water, if we obstruct the water, so up to how much distance it will pond, that is called the backflow effect. Okay, so up to that distance we have to properly strengthen these banks, and that is called the river training works. Okay, it includes the guide banks. These are also called the guide banks, so that the water may be properly guided, the water may be properly controlled, the water may be properly directed towards the main structure. So that's why these are called the guided banks. Okay, so the guided banks, these marginal bonds, okay, suppose if you are constructing the groins and the spurs, these are called the river training work, just to direct, just to guide, just to control the amount of water, just to centralize the flow of water towards the structure. okay, so that it may not move to one side or another side, or so that the nearby area may be protected. Okay, what are the function? It provide a smooth and gentle and regular approach of water toward the structure. Okay, and it prevents the river from outplanking. See, outplanking mean if here we construct the weir or barrage or the barrier, so the water may try to overflow on these banks. Okay, so if we properly construct these banks or properly strengthen these banks, then the river will be prevented from that outflanking. Okay, and to prevent the additional area being submerged, and suppose if we not strengthen or reconstruct or increase the height of these banks, then the water will overflow into the nearby area and the area will be submerged. Okay, so to prevent erosion of the banks and to prevent the damage of the banks, it will be properly constructed. That is called the river training works. Okay, so there are and also we have the marginal bonds. Okay, these are the supportive bonds, these are the supportive banks, yeah, these are the supportive walls which are constructed to protect the guided banks. For example, during the time of floods we have heavy discharge. So for example, if the banks is not able to direct or guide or control the flooded water, so for that purposes we are constructing these marginal bonds. Okay, these are also called the spurs. Marginal bonds are flood embankment in continuation of the guide banks designed to contain the flood within the flood plain of the river. Okay, this is the cross section of the river. So the total amount of water, either if it is the normal flow or if it is the flow during the flood, so total water will be guided, directed and controlled and moved only in this cross section. Okay, so suppose during the flood time the discharge is highly uncertain, so there may be chances that the guided banks may be collapsed or damaged or the water may overflow. So to avoid that uncertainty, we are constructing these marginal bonds. Okay, both height and length will be depend on the we can say the backwater effect, that how much the water what is the up to how much distance the water is ponding. What is the backwater effect of the barrage, or what is the backwater effect of the barrier. Okay, they are provided with stone pitching and fully covered with backwater length. Mostly they are constructed from rocks or from stone, and it is we can say that plastering is provided into it. Okay, and properly strengthened bonds are constructed. Okay, and this is the main barrage portion which we have discussed. Here you can see that, see, these are the guided banks, the marginal bonds, the canal regulator, under sluices, divide walls, the fish ladder, again fish ladder, divide wall, under sluices, canal regulator, and here we have the main barrier or the main barrage. So which we have discussed that in the main barrage or in the main barrier we have these components. Okay, this is the side view. Okay, again we have that different types of the different parts of the barrage or weir. This is called the main portion. Okay, it is divided into two parts, upstream, downstream, and the intermediate. This is a type of the weir. Okay, and again we have the launching apron, the block protection, impervious floor, glacis, the crest, downstream glacis, and downstream impervious floor and filter, which we have discussed in first part of this lecture. Okay, so these are the additional component, these are the secondary component which will be constructed for the effective and efficient working of any types of the headworks. Okay, now we have some introduction to the canals and regulator. If you people recall the lecture number 8 and the lecture number 7, okay, so in detail we have discussed about the canals, their types and its design and its different we can say that cross-sectional components. Here again we have a type of brief revision in the course syllabus, so we will just discuss, we will just introduce the different types of the regulators. Okay, so see, any structure constructed to regulate the discharge, full supply level or flow velocity in a canal is known as the regulation work. Regulation means that to keep the flow in canals effective and efficient. Okay, we have to transport the water throughout the channel, mean at each and every section, if the flow is effective and efficient and there is no disturbance in the flowing water, then we will say that the water is regulated. Okay, now here you can see that suppose if we have a natural river and here we have an irrigation canal. So first we have the regulator at the head of the irrigation canal, which is controlling the amount of water entering into the canal. That is called the head regulator. Okay, now for example, due to the steep slopes, due to the abrupt changes in the ground elevation, for example, if velocity is disturbed, okay, for example, if velocity is increased, then what we are doing, we are just constructing the fall structure. Okay, so when we construct the fall structure, so it is breaking out the heavy velocity, it is decreasing the velocity, they are discharging the they are dissipating the energy. So that fall is also a regulator structure, which is maintaining, which is controlling the flow of water, which is controlling the hydraulic characteristics of the flowing water in the irrigation canal. Okay, so any structure which is constructed to regulate, to control the hydraulic properties of the flowing water in the irrigation canal, that are called the regulators. Okay, see, and these are the structure which are necessary for efficient working and safety of an irrigation channel. Okay, if the flow characteristic is disturbed, mean the quantification or the velocity or the other turbulences are created in the flowing water, so the efficiency of the system will be affected. Okay, so to keep the efficiency of the system, we can say that uniform, to supply the water effectively and efficiently, we will have to construct different regulator structures. Okay, and we have different types. For example, the canal fall, okay, which is dissipating the energy, which is provided during the abrupt changes in the canal elevations. Okay, also we have the canal head regulator, which we are discussing again and again. We have the cross regulator, we have the canal escapages, and we have the canal outlet. Okay, for example, if here we are taking out some water from the irrigation canal, so again we have to construct here a structure which will take out some required and controlled amount of water from the canal. That is called the canal outlet. Okay, so these are the different regulator structure which are controlling, which are maintaining the flow of water in the irrigation canal efficiently. Okay, the lecture will be continued, and in third part of this lecture we will discuss the different types of the regulator, like fall, irrigation canal outlets, and the cross drainage work. Okay.